G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everybody. Today I'm interviewing Ian Whitworth, who's co-founder at Scene Change, who actually started the business in Kingston in Hobart, Tasmania, where I'm located. Ian lives in Sydney, has got businesses or offices in various states, which I'll let him give us some insights into. And Scene Change has been going for now 17 years. Ian was also involved with a business called Lizard Drinking, a creative marketing agency, which no doubt Ian will touch on, and has recently released a book called Undisruptable. So welcome, Ian.
Nice to meet you, Michael.
Yes. So how do we know each other? I think we haven't met each other before, and we just had a bit of a chat offline, but I reached out after reading your blog, and I love the way you sort of write your blogs, and no doubt I've got to get a copy of your book to read that. So it's we've sort of had offline conversations, so to speak, and here we are today. So looking forward to hearing more about yourself and your business.
Nice to be here.
So kick off, tell our audience a bit about your business.
Scene Change is an audiovisual technical business. It's one of those mysterious businesses that nobody understands. We do the video, sound, lighting, the big screens, the staging for large corporate events, conferences and product launches. So we have warehouses of fairly expensive equipment in 6 cities around the country, and the people who run those things. So our people are the ones in black up the back of the room, while everyone else is having a great time at the gala dinner, dancing and dining and sipping champagne. We're the ones up the back being kind of invisible. So to this day, my own mother kind of doesn't quite understand what we do, but it's quite a large industry.
Yes. And we were talking offline that COVID obviously had a big impact on your business. So how did you sort of deal with that, and sort of how have you sort of come out of it?
Well, March 2020 was an exciting time for us. And any of you who weren't put through that particular ringer, just consider what it is you do now and just go, what if that thing you do was made illegal for 2 years? That kind of happened to us. So we went through a very stressful time trying to work out how to whether we were doomed or not. In the end, we decided that it had taken us, in our industry, it's all about the people, because you can have technical people, but what we need is technical people who have the personal skills to deal calmly with a major bank CEO who's about to go on stage, because it's a very, everyone's terrified of presentations. So there's complex psychology at stake. So the people who work for us are really scarce, and it had taken us 10 years to get this team together that we were super proud of. So when all the shows started cancelling and it became clear that bad things are about to happen, we did the rounds of each office and brought everyone together and just said, look, bad things are happening, as you know. Here's what we do know, here's what we don't know. But basically we showed them screenshots of we showed them live our bank accounts and said, this is how much money we have left. Everyone's going to get paid 3 days a week, but we're going to pay you until we run out of money, because our aim is to keep you on board. And that was about 4 months worth of doing that. And then spent a lot of time answering questions and so on. But we did manage to keep all those, or 95% of those people with us. The next week, a lot of companies in our field just threw all their staff overboard, which was kind of unpleasant. And I did write in the blog at that time, what you do this week, your staff are going to remember for the next decade or more. And then about 2 weeks later, JobKeeper came in. It's like, okay, that's makes things much better. And a lot of those companies then went, hey, come back, staff. But those staff will not forget that at the first sign of adversity, they all got fired. Whereas we managed to keep all our staff. What we ended up doing was setting up TV studios in our warehouses where the trucks normally load up. So we have TV cameras and LED walls and other studio looking stuff. So we realized after about 2 days of Zoom that Zoom is okay for like our chat now, but as a way of communicating meaningfully, if you're management to a big company, it's garbage. Like, because by the end of the first week of Zoom, you're just sick of the sight of people sitting in front of their bookshelf at home. It just all blurred into each other. So we created a kind of TV studio type experience for the big announcements. So that we set that up in all the offices around the country, and that allowed us to just break even. So we, the business owners, sort of earned nothing for a couple of years, but what it allowed us to do was keep all our staff with us and intact, so that when we came out of COVID, we had an intact, skilled team, and a lot of other companies didn't. So it worked out quite well in the long run. But yeah, hair-raising stuff at the time.
Yeah, no, good on you, and very courageous at the time in many ways, and good to hear it sort of now starting to pay dividends. So with your business and your business model, I guess, how, in a sort of broad sense, how do you make money? And is there any sort of, I guess, insights for our listeners, just in a general business sense, that you could impart?
Yes, we make money from the renting of equipment, which we rent out on a per day basis, because most of the events we do are 1 day, and charging out the labor of the people who do it. Labor is interesting because it's almost impossible to make money on labor. At best, with all on costs of staff, we aim to break even. So we make our money on the hiring of equipment. And I used to have an ad agency, and making money purely from head hours of employees is almost impossible. I think it really helps to be having something else to sell on top of that. Otherwise you're just doomed to sitting there going, okay, we're covering the cost of all our staff this month, but what about next month? Will another project come in? Do I have enough work for them? There's no surprise upside wins, only nasty surprises. So yeah, it's a business that only involves charging out your employees' time is a nightmare in my experience.
Yeah, I guess it's all about some form of competitive advantage around your business model.
Yeah. I mean, guess we're going.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I guess to sort of go back, how did you start out, given at the time you were part of Lizard Drinking, I assume, a creative marketing agency, sort of what brought you to Scene Change?
Well, I'm a product of poor career guidance at school, at Tweed River High School on the far north coast of New South Wales, where for some reason the school career guidance guy said, "Yeah, you should become either a vet, a doctor, or a dentist." And I'm like, what? So I ended up studying as a vet. Did that for 3 years, got thrown out for being a disruptive clown. And an absolute dickhead, and they were right to get rid of me. And became a cab driver. A month into that, I picked up a guy in a suit in the city, and he said, "You seem like a well-spoken young man. Would you like a job in the corporate audiovisual industry?" And I thought, I have no idea what that is, but it's better than driving this cab. So yes, I'll take your job. So that was how I became a corporate roadie back when that company was getting started. And it grew really well. I was like employee number 4. It grew to publicly listed size. So I ended up on the board, but with no equity, the worst of all combinations, with venture capitalist investors yelling at me in board meetings about graphs and stuff. And in the end, I thought, I don't need this. This is not my company. I'm going to leave and set up an ad agency. So I did that and just got totally away from events. And did a lot of work for tire companies, small appliance companies, finance companies, range of ads, and that was an awesome time. But what troubled me was when you're doing advertising and marketing and stuff for people, you're only controlling that small part that you do. You can have the best ad or whatever website in the world, but if that just attracts customers in to meet your sales staff who are indifferent and have smoky breath and all the other things, then, that's not much use. So everybody in advertising sort of fantasizes about having their own brand where they are the client and they can apply the sort of thinking that you apply to clients, but across the whole thing. And also you'd come up, when I was doing advertising, you'd come up with ideas that were based on really strong commercial principles and go, we need to stand out, we need to communicate this particular thing so people will buy your product. And they'd go, oh, we really like the ideas, but they're a bit creative. Creative being the code word for we hate it and we're not going to do it. And so about 6 years into that, I said to my friend Peter, we need to start an audiovisual company that's ours, and we can just apply all these marketing ideas, that style of marketing thinking to that business and see if it works, which we did. So we bet the entire combined value of both our houses to set up this company and did all those marketing things. And hey, guess what? It worked gangbusters and it was really profitable. So it was nice to sort of, not that I ever called up any of those old clients and said, guess what? I did it and it made a lot of money, but that was a reality. So that's how I came. That's how I came back to audiovisual. But the lessons of advertising, still useful. A brand is incredibly important if you want to be profitable. Most small business people are doomed forever to feel they have to be the cheapest of 6 quotes. Whereas with a brand, you don't have to be, unless you've got margin. You got nothing. You're just a money laundering operation.
Yeah, like that. That's a really good gold nugget for our listeners there. So thanks for that one. So your growth in this business, can you give us sort of indication what that's looked like over the years? Obviously, COVID put a hold to that growth, but how's that sort of looked over the last number of years?
It's been steady as we set it up. When we set it up, I think we opened 4 offices in year 1, which looking back on it, we just go, were we drunk? But apparently we did that. So we opened, Hobart, Adelaide, Wollongong, and Sydney. And we did about $1 million in revenue in the first year. And since then it's been really steady sort of 25 to 27% compound growth each year, which doesn't sound much, but growth in our business is very expensive because it's very CapEx-y. You've got to buy, TV cameras that cost $100,000 or whatever. And so growth is not easy, but we've managed to sustain that growth. And obviously over that amount of time, that mounts up to a fair size. I mean, we could IPO it now. We just choose not to because when we set this business up, we basically went, rule 1, do the exact opposite of what the venture capital people that used to control our lives would do. We will never float.
Yeah, learn from those lessons, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, good. So has there been a moment to date you feel like you've succeeded?
I think once we survived the first year, that was enough. We like this. Yeah, I asked my business partner and I fly around stuff because we don't actually work in the business. It's really worth noting the structure of the business that we set it up with a local partner in each state. So each state is a separate proprietary limited business, and the local partner in that location has equity in it, and they run that business like it's their own. So we provide cash and board style guidance and just that sort of external source of advice. So we talk a lot on the phone. But we do go and visit each of those offices a lot. You got to visit every 6 weeks. I found there was a time where we didn't do it as much because just seemed like effort. But there's no Zoom call, there is no report that will give you a clear indication of what's actually going on the ground. You actually have to go there and talk to people, and not just for the afternoon, but you got to stay overnight and do that thing. And so my business partner and I fly a lot. And I did say to him last year or something, I said, have you ever had any doubt did you ever have any doubt that this thing would work? And he went, no, not for a microsecond. And I like, yeah, same. And the reason for that was because essentially we started a business in what we knew. It was territory we knew, so we were comfortable with it. I worry a lot for people who go, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur, and they set up a business in an area that is one of their hobbies or their passion or whatever, and you're going to get burned. It's like, your financial planners will tell you, you'd be able to tell me this. The old corporate executive who's had a redundancy payout, and they're like, I'm thinking about opening a nice little cafe. And it's like, I'm sorry, don't belittle the skills and knowledge of actual cafe owners who work really hard and know a bunch of stuff about how to make a quid running a cafe. The idea that you, a desk person, can come into their business and make money is just absurd. And you're just going to burn a ton of money. It's not going to work. So I love the idea of people starting their own business, and that's what the book's about. But for God's sake, start it in businesses. You don't know how much knowledge you have in your given area until you try working in a different area.
Yeah, that's spot on. And I think overarching that, sort of have that plan around the business and financial model. And I like your model where, you've got someone with skin in the game in each state. And I think that obviously gives you a bit more opportunity to scale and grow as well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we would be nowhere near the size we are, and it would be nowhere near as much fun. But yeah, they are really competent business people and have a sense of responsibility that you will never get with a head office, branch office mentality. What happens when you got a head office, branch office is that wherever head office is the chosen special one, and everyone in all the other places, particularly if they're smaller cities like Hobart or Adelaide or whatever, all the people there just think head office does not understand us. For them, it's all about Sydney. Here's different, and they don't get it, and they enforce all these rules that were designed for Sydney or Melbourne on us. And it's true. You can't. There are some things that are the same, but there's a lot that's different, and those people have to feel that there's a Adelaide or a Hobart voice there that understands their lives and cares about them, rather than sort of trying to be like a giant franchise organization where it's like, here's the rule book and you must do all the rules. We allow them a lot of freedom. We never directly tell them to do anything. We let them buy different types of technology if that's what their local people would prefer. And they like that sense of ownership, and that makes it really profitable for us. Control is overrated.
Absolutely. No, I like it. So what does success look like for you?
Being able to do whatever the hell I want.
Have fun.
See, that's largely it. There comes a point in your life where you just don't want to be told what to do by other people. For me, that age was like 35. I'm like, enough. And once you start your own business, you become largely unemployable because you don't want to do timesheets or listen to someone else's, orders from somewhere else. So for us, the freedom to just do what we want is intoxicating. And I mean, I've been able to write books and do all kinds of other fun side projects with the spare time I have, because I'm not working the business day to day, because other people much better at it than me are doing that work. And it's just nonstop fun, really. I mean, I love the businesses. Like, it's just the fun just gets better and better as it just gets bigger and more good people join us. It's honestly, the last couple of years have been just the most fun it's ever been, post COVID. So that's success. Good. I mean, we make, don't get me wrong, we make a good amount of money, but we have pretty modest lifestyle expectations, and we're just not into prestige stuff. So the fact that we have enough money to live and not have to worry about it is pretty luxurious.
As long as you got enough money to buy those lovely shirts you wear.
Oh, yes, they are an investment. They are part of the personal brand. Is this go out on video or is this audio only?
We'll be on YouTube as well.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yep.
Hi.
Very important.
Invest in capital investment in shirts is important. Well, for me anyway.
Exactly. Part of your brand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business in your experience?
Be consistent. No. First, talk to your customers. There's so much marketing is based around these abstract ideas that marketing departments come up with about subsets of humanity, about, AB plus overachieving inspiration seekers. And I've sat through a lot of that kind of PowerPoint in my time. And it's like astrology. People just apply whatever meaning they want to it, and it means nothing. So this is one of the reasons I'm recommending people start businesses in areas they know, because you've spoken to customers and they'll tell it to you straight whether you're doing a good job or not. And that's the most important thing. So if you can come at it from a position of having spoken to customers and understanding them, observing what they do, because sometimes they'll tell you they're going to do things and they don't. If you want to know, Google Ian Whitworth Shoes of Prey for a story on my blog about what was an absolutely brilliant company run by delightful and super smart people, got run over by a bus because focus groups told them that what they wanted was one thing. They then went out and raised like $40 million or something and set up this just incredible delivery system to deliver that. And it turns out the customers did not want that thing. What they wanted was something they hadn't mentioned, which was to buy the same shoes as every other whatever influencer they're going to wear. So yeah, if you can find something real to relate to, usually it's about how you do your product or service rather than what you do, because everyone else in the field is talking about what they do. So if you can find a specialty area in there that you can own, most people want to be for all your pest control needs. The one-stop shop for pest control. I don't know why I'm on pest control, it just popped in my mind. And that's okay, but you're competing against everyone. You have nothing new to focus on, and you're better off having fewer people who absolutely love your brand because you're special for them. So I'm exaggerating here, but if you go, we're the silverfish pest control people, you got silverfish, we are the experts, we know everything about silverfish, and we're going to get those little bastards out of your life because we have specific silverfish technology. Other pest control places, they can do other things, but us, silverfish. Dial 1-800-SILVERFISH. But if you're special to say, it doesn't mean you'll only get customers to do that, but if you're special to a smaller group of people, then you'll be more profitable and they will recommend you. And that's largely, marketing is really good, but recommendations and word of mouth will be the reality of what will actually grow your business. But you've got to have a story that other people can tell about your business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was going to say riches in the niches is an old saying, right? So
that is true.
Yeah, I think once you start trying to be everybody, all you are is average. So along the lines you're talking about. So
also with marketing, just be consistent. What happens is in most brands is that a new marketing person comes and they're like, I'm going to put my stamp on this, and the only way to put their stamp on it is to change stuff. So they change the logo, or they change the slogan, or they change it and whatever. And so there's no consistency because you, the marketing person, gets tired and bored of your message long before the customer does, because they haven't seen it much, whereas you're living it every day. So great brands, profitable brands, are built on just being consistent. We came up with one marketing message that we ran for 4 years and we were very small, and then change it to another one that ran for 6 years. And like that worked really well. It takes people a long time to have even heard of you, let alone try and understand all the many points of difference that you want them to understand. Pick one or two and just stick to that pretty much forever.
Yeah, no, good tip. How did you fund your business?
We funded it by, I was fortunate to have nearly worked myself to death in my 20s and was able to buy a house when they were a bit cheaper. So it was all borrowed against a house. My business partner did the same.
Yeah, very good.
So
So
we're entirely self-funded.
self-funded.
We've never taken any external funding because we just don't want other people telling us what to do. Some people don't have the luxury of that choice, but if you can swing it, do it.
Yep, absolutely. So if you're a startup today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
If I was much younger than I was, yeah, I would. It's a good, profitable industry, and it's lots of fun. It takes a while to establish cred. It's like a 15-year journey to go from lucky little startup with a couple of vans to what we are today. That takes a lot of psychotic energy, and it's been great fun. I would certainly not want to start it again today, but yeah, 28-year-old me would totally do it. That's great.
Yeah, and what would you say was the most stressful point in your business growth journey so far, and so our audience can learn from it?
I would say it was that time when, as I mentioned, we have they're separate proprietary limited companies, and we like to be prudent and ahead of the game. And so as we were growing, we were ready for payroll tax. We were going, yep, we're just about up to the threshold in all of those, in each of those locations. So, yep, anytime soon, we're going to be paying payroll tax. And that's the price of growth. And sure, payroll tax sucks a lot, but we're gonna pay it. And we got a call from the accountant who said, aha, the ATO has just gotten in touch. And the reason they got in touch, it was the Tasmanian branch of the ATO, and we had appeared on one of those, if you remember the old BRW Fast 100 or whatever it was, fast growing companies. We'd appeared on that. The ATO in Tassie went, oh, look, they're in other places. So the accountant rang up and said, yeah, turns out that for taxation purposes, because you have majority common ownership, in fact, not only should you be paying payroll tax now, in fact, you should have been paying it consolidated a year ago. So you have a back company payroll tax bill of like $100,000 or something. And that was one of the rare occasions I have lost it with a supplier, because I really try to be nice and calm and reasonable guy, because that generally works better. But it's like, come on, man, you had one job, you did not know this. So at that stage, yeah, you can't just come up with $100,000 instantly. So yeah, that was one of the higher stress moments, aside from wondering if the entire business was going to die during COVID. But that was just so large and stressful that, I don't know, it was like, yeah, when people say, shark attack victims say, yeah, I didn't really feel anything because I was just gone into shock. Like, we didn't really feel much in COVID because it was so big and nightmarish. It was just like, all right, how about that, eh? Let's deal with it. Whereas we should have, been a lot more stressed. I've no idea why. Probably it was just too big a shock.
Well, I suppose, yeah, that's right. And everyone else was dealing with it as well, I gather. So
Yeah,
we're all in the same boat. But I think, the tax experience is probably about, making sure you certainly got good advisors around you at the very least that can look after that stuff.
Stay on top of that shit. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a creative guy by trade. I like write ads and books and whatever, but I love business. And like, if I can understand payroll tax and cash flows and stuff, then so can you. People sort of go, oh, my accountant handles that for me. No, sorry, not good enough. If you're trying to start your own business, if you can't read a P&L or do a cash flow statement, don't go into business. Don't think your accountant will do that, because you're just floating in space with no directions and your business is doomed. Sorry to just be so blunt, but that's the reality.
Spot on. And you mentioned cash flow, managing and understanding that is so critical.
Yeah, it ain't hard. It's no harder than applying for a passport, for God's sake.
Probably
Well,
easier.
just
That's right.
there, yeah.
So, what area of your business do you feel you had to work most on to add the greatest value, I guess, to the business?
Sales. Sales is revenue is the thing. Without sales solves all problems. If you've got revenue but problems, you can fix those problems. If you've got no revenue, you got nothing. Nothing. So when we were sort of keen to start out, just trying to get business through the door is really hard. Because what happens is people who know you personally, like old clients, go, "Oh my God, you guys are setting up your own business. We love you guys. We loved working with you when you were back at the big company. We'll totally use you." So we largely set up the entire company based on promises like that. And of those customers who said that thing, maybe 10% of them actually came through with actually spending money with us. And the rest were like, "Oh, look, yeah, look, we love what we do. And we really appreciate all the effort you've put into this tender or proposal you've written for us. But, on this occasion, we've just decided better the devil you know." And they would just go back to a supplier that at the time they had said, those customers had gone, "We hate that supplier. They're unresponsive. They're really expensive. They suck. If only there was someone else." But when it came time to actually change their spending habits, they're like, "Yeah, nah, better the devil you know." So sales is the hardest thing. If you can get over that, everything else is pretty cruisy, really.
Yeah, which I think sort of somewhat comes back to those points of difference you've sort of been talking about in a number of respects. So I guess the business has grown, like you said, reasonably controlled, but reasonably fast. So what have you sort of enjoyed the least around that growth, or if anything?
It gets a bit frustrating when when you see the business make a profit and you're like, "Wow, we made that much profit. Can we have some of that, please?" But you've got to reinvest it. And when we first started out, an accountant friend said, "Here's the rules. Of your profit, you got to divide it by 3. A third is tax, no avoiding that. A third you should reinvest in the business, and a third you should take out after sort of, the first few years. But you should take it out, because if you don't do that, what is the point of having a business?" And that rule has been remarkably accurate. Like, it's amazing how much the business rules are just simple as, really. And that is one of them. So we have, we used to think, "God, do we have to put all this money back into business?" But the reality is that's been the right thing to do. And it's just taken us to a level that we frankly didn't expect to get to. And it's also really important that your business, if you pull all your money out of the business, your business is going to look tired and dirty really fast. I don't know if you read Joe Aston's stories in the Fin Review about Alan Joyce at Qantas, but there's been some very pointed ones recently about Alan's diverting of all funds away from buying new planes for about 10 years, which has now created this crusty fleet that's just getting older and older and older. And now to get back to that point is now just an insurmountable CapEx fee. Our business, while not an airline, is kind of similar. If we don't reinvest in it, all of a sudden you're old and your business is crusty, and it's just going to cost too much to do it. So if you can do it, I really recommend just keeping an eye on that stuff, because if you wait till it's a problem, it's a problem that you don't really have a way out of. So just learn to live cheaper yourself and reinvest, and eventually at some point you just go, "God damn, we're just making a ton of money," and that's cool.
Yeah, good little rule of thumb. I like that. So what have you loved most about growing the business?
I just love creating something out of nothing. It's just, "Hey, here's an idea, let's make it a thing." And 15 years later, whatever it's been, it's got like 75 full-time staff, and they're great. Like, they're really nice people to work with and really care about doing what we do, which is a super high stress business, as you might imagine.
Mm.
And just being able to develop people like that, we find incredibly motivating to sort of create the atmosphere where they lay out. Like our turnover is like under 2% staff. Once people join us, they largely stay there. And it's just feels nice to meet new people who've just gone, I really like working here. It's a nice place to work. I feel supported, and I really like it. That's awesome. From an idea we had in a bar one time.
Want to become the best manager you can be? Check out our Kick-Ass Manager course at growasmallbusiness.com. Do the course and add your fellow managers for no extra cost. Join the 30%. 70% of people quit their job because of their manager.
Absolutely. So just on your people, obviously a very important part of businesses. So I guess adding people to your team. So can you talk to sort of some wins and any mistakes even over the journey that can help those listening?
Yeah, I mean the mistakes are largely where you hire someone who is really good at their job, but it's all about them and they don't back the team up and they are dicks to people they work with because they believe that they're entitled to do that. We tolerated that a bit early on because staff are hard to find, but we do not tolerate that anymore. Like if you think you're any better than anyone else here, then we can't work with you. And we deliberately we hate job titles. Like there's basically the local director, and then there's largely few job titles under that because we don't want people to feel they're working toward a better job title, which then allows them to lord it over other members of the team. Everyone's pretty much at the same level, and that works really well. It's about the customers, not job titles and so on. So that was a win. Yeah, we was the absolute lack of hierarchy and job titles. The other thing we did, interestingly, was when we had corporate jobs, there was a head office which had a range of executive functions going on there, based on the idea that there were economies of scale around one location doing accounting, IT, marketing, HR, that kind of thing. And guess what? There aren't, because head offices just are self-multiplying organisms where if you've got a IT department, suddenly the computer guy decides that he's now wants to be the chief information officer and now wants to install a enterprise level software system, which needs more staff. And so they hire a bunch of people. And so their career progress is based on hiring more people, not because you need them, but because their salary goes up. And so you have this multiplier effect. So we just said, you know what, we're not going to have a head office. We're quite a large organization these days, but all of those IT support, most of the accounting functions are done locally at a modest level, and it's fine. You don't actually need HR. HR is a particularly it's literally a cancer on your business in that its only purpose is to multiply exponentially at the expense of the host. Because you need people, you need payroll people to make sure people are paid properly and their leave and stuff is accurately looked after. Obviously you need that, but where you have staff going to HR instead of as a substitute for management, that's when the wheels start to fall off. The idea that culture can be set or determined by an HR department is really dubious. And then you get at the ultimate level of this, you have managers who send people to HR to be fired. And I'm sorry, if you do that, then you are a contemptible, weak excuse for a manager. So we've just found, what if we just don't have HR? That works fine. You just, I mean, we're not a major bank. We don't have 7,000 employees. If you did, or if you had this huge casual workforce, you might need it, but we've done just fine without one. Try it.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think it's like anything, it's what works, but I think that's a good option subject to your business model. What about core values? Do you use those as far as part of your culture?
We don't have written core values. We just try and be respectful of each other and speak rather than sending each other messages, and try to be decent. We've over the years we've had business partners in locations that didn't work out, which is always an uncomfortable conversation, and we've always dealt with them reasonably financially, and otherwise, when they left, and generally we just try to look on the good side. There's two sorts of managers. There's people who believe that staff and suppliers are basically good. We believe that everyone largely wants to do a good job because it makes them proud to do so. Some managers believe that all staff and suppliers are out to screw them, and they in turn must be screwed hard in return. And so, yes, there will always be 3% of your staff who are going to falsify petty cash receipts or, take food home from the kitchen or whatever. But if you treat all your staff with that mindset, if you have processes designed around the worst customer employee, that's a pretty dark place to operate from. That casts a really grim cop-style shadow of your business, which creates all the things that people hate about work. People go, "Oh, work, it sucks." It's like, well, it's because of this cop mentality of catching people out and developing systems to stop them doing whatever perceived evil. And people just aren't as evil as you think. They're generally really nice and just want to have a nice day at work.
Yeah.
And do the right thing by your customers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hate that sort of shit. And it can be self-fulfilling, right?
Oh, absolutely. The more it just goes one way or the other.
So it's probably simple. You got the no dickhead policy.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty much the no dickhead policy. Yeah.
So what about balancing work life? How does that look for you? And how have you done that? Or have you done it at all?
Yeah. My life. I mean, I work a lot, but it's on shit that I want to do. Like, I love work. I want to work till I die. Like, there's this weird mindset that you read in inspo websites and whatever about someone who made so much money that they're able to retire by the age of 40. And I'm looking at that and the story is usually about geared property portfolios. And you just look at that and you just go, well, there's someone that knows so little about what's going on in their head that they believe that not working is just the best thing on earth. I mean, what are you going to do at 40?
Exactly.
Like golf? I mean, all your friends are still at work, so you're just going to end up down the golf club playing golf with, I don't know, retired bank managers while your friends are at work. So you got nothing you can relate to speak about with your friends. And I don't know. You're just going to turn into some sad. I was going to say Warney figure, but he was obviously an absolute legend. And but yeah, that sort of retired type person who's just sitting around drinking margaritas and going, yeah, how good is it? Nice and hot and sunny today. And it's like, what are you, a goddamn lizard? Do something productive that's going to make you happy. So yeah, I mean, I realistically, I could probably get away with doing 1 day a week in hours on this business, but I don't want to do that because I bloody love it. So I spend a lot of time talking to the phone and chatting with the business partners. And yeah, we've got investments in other areas. There's about 3 or 4 other businesses we're in. I do a range of creative side projects, and go for a surf each morning, and it's cool. Happy days. I don't want the idea of not working. Just my partner has told me we are never to sell the business because she sees how I just light up when I'm on the phone to the business partners and just loving it. And she, without that, you would be just a sad liability around the house, and you should not do it. No matter how, there's no amount of money you could pay me where I'd go, if I have to stop doing this, none.
I think, yeah, that interaction between work and your personal life is obviously different for everybody. But I think listening to you today, it's all about getting the business set up so you can have that flexibility, have fun, and where work is not work. It's just part of your life, right?
Yeah, you can do this, you know?
Absolutely.
You're not, everyone thinks they're really indispensable. Everyone pictures themselves as Bruce Willis in Die Hard, just the sole person holding the entire building from collapsing. And it's like, you know what? You're not so special. I'm not so special. Other people can do your job and do it well. And then once you can, let them do that. It's great.
Absolutely.
Now, get out of that air conditioning vent.
Exactly. Yeah.
John McClane.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to let your ego go sometimes.
Yeah.
So have you done, from a professional development perspective, have you sort of invested much in that side of things over the journey so far?
What, me personally or in the business?
Yeah, yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, after the vet catastrophe, I did go back and do a business degree at night. And that worked really well because by that stage I'd been in business. I'm like, oh yeah, this stuff makes sense. So yeah, that was really, really useful. And I do recommend general business knowledge training to anyone in areas outside your normal area. Like it's all everyone has an area they're good at, but for me as a marketing brain guy to go and do accounting and finance and tax and all the other things was really useful and undoubtedly has helped with the business. So yeah, so that was cool. I really like being in advertising because that was like an ongoing university of other clients' business case studies where you just spend a lot of time with really smart people in other industries and they tell you their problems. And like, I love that shit. Like, I find it fascinating to know what's going on in other industries because you can just go, that's good what they did there. I could steal that and apply it to our own industry and look really smart, rather than just, nicking things, which it kind of is. But yeah, it works really well. So yeah, I mean, I'm with the blog. Obviously, people get in touch with the business things, and yeah, I find the whole world of business endlessly fascinating, and you got to keep learning. It's useful and fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always something you can learn along the way, regardless of how small, for your own business.
Totally.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
No.
Pretty simple. That's and so just wrapping it up, and it's been a great conversation. So what do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's the hard bit.
Yep. And what about any favourite business book?
Favorite business book?
Other than yours, of course.
I would say Rory Sutherland's Alchemy. Rory, if you've not run across him, is a jovial English. I think he might be Welsh.
Yeah, I have come across him.
Gent, who wrote a book basically explaining why you should forget about logic because all customers and all people move in very strange, subjective ways. And if you just expect customers and the people around you to behave like your spreadsheet projects, then you're in for a disappointment. So that book is endlessly fascinating and just a really good reminder that you've got to be on top of the spreadsheets, but the difference between success and failure is the 10% of absolute voodoo, which is instinct and understanding of people and knowing what your customers really think at a subconscious level. Without that, you're doomed to always just be mystified and disappointed that your spreadsheet model didn't apply in real life based on logic. There's a lot of non-logic stuff going on out there. And if you can hook into the non-logic side of it, that's much more profitable because people will just spend money with you and not even really know why. So yeah, really rate that book.
Yeah, good. I have to put that on my list. I've seen some of his TED talks, so I sort of got a bit of a sense there. Definitely, different way of looking at things. So, just to wrap up, what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Stick at it. That's kind of it, really. Most people, yeah, it's like doing the blog. Yeah, most people are not insane enough to spend an entire Monday every week for 5 years writing a 1,000-word story. And you've just got to go. You can't say, oh, you know what? I'm going to wait till the creative muse strikes. I'm not feeling inspired right now. It's like, shut up, you lazy bastard. Do the work every week and just do it every time. And so if you stick to business tasks like that, just consistently, you get there.
Yep.
You're not going to get there in a linear fashion, but or if you don't get there, you'll get somewhere else good. But it's just persistency that gets you through most of these things, and just doing simple, basic stuff well. You know, a lot of people focus on the 1% things because they've read about, you know, Six Sigma, lean excellence, or neuro-linguistic programming. So they focus on that, but they forget about, I don't know, getting back to customers when they said they were going to, or turning up on time. And most of business is about the basics. Yeah. At the end of the book, there's just like 6 low-key steps to success. It's like, they're really obvious shit that your mum told you to do. But if you can do those, and if you can get your people to do that, then you have an unstoppable force, because everyone else is focused on what they believe to be the secret genius technique that they heard Simon Sinek talk about. But just focus on the basics, right?
Yeah, like it. Keep it simple and consistency and discipline.
Yeah. That's it. It's not so hard.
It's not. So thanks for the chat, mate. It's been really insightful, and I'm sure our listeners will get a lot out of it.
Let's do chat. Yeah. So the book Undisruptable is on Penguin Random House. You can get it on Booktopia. It's a number one customer review rated book on all Booktopia, which was really nice. So
excellent. And
check it out.
Also your blogs as well. They're a good read.
And the blogs, ianwhitworth.net, or just search Undisruptable. You'll find it. But yeah, every Tuesday.
Yep.
Even when I'm helping my daughter move house like today.
Good work,
Get
mate.
the bloody work done. Cool. Yeah. Lovely chatting to you, Michael.
Yeah, likewise, mate. See ya.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.